Well, hello everybody out there in YouTube land. Today we are beginning construction of a real suit of Madox power armor. But some of you are probably wondering, what is a Madox? Well, you wouldn't be the only ones. Metal Skin Panic Madox 01, whew, that is a mouthful, is a single episode anime released in 1987. It was directed and conceptualized by Shinji Aramaki, who would later go on to work on projects such as Bubblegum Crisis and Halo Legends: The Prototype. You can see he likes his power armor.
Extra thick!
This anime was the first series licensed by Anime Ego in 1990, so for many in the West, it was their first anime, and you know what they say, you never forget your first time. It captured the hearts of many, as the 2021 Kickstarter for the Blu-ray set was fully funded in 42 minutes. I have one of these Blu-ray sets myself, as well as a cell from the anime, and those are pretty neat. The story is pretty simple. The slave trooper Madox 01 shows itself to be awesome at blowing up remote control tanks. The guy at the remote controls, named Kilgore, a rather creative name, gets pissed off and vows to destroy the suit. He gets the opportunity when the power armor gets lost in transit and picked up by our main character Koji, who geeks out over the suit before getting trapped in it. Stuck in the suit, he makes his way to the last state with his girlfriend before she studies overseas. Hijinks ensue, including the suit's autogun feature, trying to eat while wearing the suit, the inventor of the suit using the previous version to try to capture Koji, and Kilgore trying to blow him up. It is a fun, silly little romp, and there are worse ways you can spend 42 minutes. The delightfully chunky nature of the suit, and all the mechanical sakuga at the beginning. Sakuga means an exceptionally animated scene for all you non-weeb folk. Makes it ripe for making a real-life version. The closest thing we got is a fellow by the name of Fario02 on Twitter made a pretty neat cosplay in Japan. So, how are we gonna do this? I have a history of building mechs and power armor. However, my focus has been making on functional systems rather than making them pretty. However, since developing this robo-waifu, I've developed an appreciation for integrating good-looking parts into the development workflow. We'll be developing this version of a Madox suit with aesthetics in mind because I already have the control system's prototype, and I don't need to worry if they will actually work. Now, it is very tempting to start with the arms, but those are the easy bit. Every project needs a good foundation, so we'll be starting literally from the ground up. That's right, we're starting with the feets. Now, feet support us through our lives and all of our hardships. If you don't have feet, then you ain't got a leg to stand on, so they're vital for a power armor. Our frame is going to be prototyped with 3/4 inch PVC pipe. Since it is cheap and easy to work with, changes can be made with very little effort. I have many years of experience working with PVC and know what it can and can't do. Power armor? Yes. 600-pound walking mech? Not so much. So we got ourselves a heel that is attached to a foot plate, and then we attach the toes on a linkage that allows for 2 degrees of freedom. Our goal is to have the toes remain parallel to the ground while in contact with the ground, so we can angle the leg however we please. To move the toes, we're going to use electrical linear actuators. These have a gearbox inside that take the rotational motion of a motor and turns it into a back and forth motion. These have several advantages over hydraulics, pneumatics, or directly plopping motors right onto the joints. Point A. They have no backdrive. The electrical actuators will remain in place unless they receive an electrical signal. This is thanks to a screw drive inside that allows motion to be transferred to the piston, but not the piston to the motor. Point 2. They only consume power when moving. Because of the screw drive, they don't require any power to maintain their position. A hydraulic or pneumatic system requires constant pressure to maintain its position. Point yellow. You can operate them beyond their limits. If you try to operate a pneumatic or hydraulic system beyond its limits, you will get leaks and possibly an explosion in shrapnel. Not something you want to have close to the operator. Since linear actuators are solid state, any catastrophic failures in the system can be prevented with a simple fuse. I have personally run up to 60 volts through these 12-volt actuators, and they're rated for 300 pounds of force. I have yet to actually burn one out, However, I have ruined them by leaving them out in the ring. These 1350-pound actuators are a different story though. Since they have plastic gearboxes inside, they're susceptible to breakage if you change the direction too quickly. That can easily be implemented in a circuit, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. For now, we'll stick with these actuators here, since they have a metal gearbox. Once the actuators are attached to the actual frame, we attach them to a motor controller, which is linked to an Arduino. So the Arduino can tell the position of the toes. We attach 4 buttons on each corner of the toe unit. Unfortunately, we can't connect the buttons directly to the Arduino inputs. When the buttons are not pressed, because the pin is not attached to anything, the wire acts as a massive antenna and is sensitive to electromagnetic interference, making the signal jump all over the place. To mitigate this, we attach a board of relays, which switch the input pin between the 5 volts when button is pressed, and the ground when the button is released. We've got a fuse in here to keep things from exploding, and have it all closed up in a neat little pencil box. And now we upload the code to the Arduino. By having the toes controlled independently from the rest of the suit, it is one less thing we have to worry about when programming the walk cycle in the future. With the code complete, we can monitor the status of the buttons via USB. In the interim, we've covered it up so it looks a bit less like a refugee from the Red Green Show. And now we'll tilt our foot around to see how well the toes stay level. It seems to be working alright, but I think I'm going to experiment with some of the button positioning so I can get better contact with the ground. Now this looks all well and good, but what is it actually doing underneath the hood? You can see that when I try to tip the shin forward, the actuators activate, keeping the toes level with the ground while tilting the shin forward. Similarly, when I try to tilt the shin to the side, the actuators activate, keeping the toes level while tilting the shin to the side. Now this thing is moving kinda slow because it's connected to an 18-volt tool battery, which is actually stepped down to half speed. That's because these little motor controllers can't really handle all the power. So eventually I'll be replacing these little ones with the big fat motor controller. But that is for another video. So, with a solid foundation for our power armor, we can conclude this video. If you're interested in my other projects, feel free to go to my channel down in the thingamajig. Or leave a comment and say I'm a big poo-poo head. But remember, if the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. Take care.